Fred VanVleet taking on the Nets at 7:30 Eastern. Then the Celtics are in LA against the Clippers. Our coverage starts with NBA Countdown at 7 Eastern. To the association, in his new book, Inside the NBA Bubble, a championship season under quarantine, Lakers' Jared Dudley revealed his team was primed for the battle for LA because of Paul George saying, quote, "We hear some of the guys talking about how they're the team to beat in LA. It's fine if Kawhi Leonard says stuff like that. He's defending a championship. But we think it's disrespectful for Paul George, who hasn't won, to put himself on the level of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. This kind of stuff motivates us." Last night, Paul George with the kill him with kindness approach.
God bless him. God bless you, Jared Dudley. I don't know what it is. Dudes love throwing my name and stuff, but God bless you, Jared.
Stephen A., do you believe Dudley?
No. Not at all. He's a really good guy, really smart guy, and I'm not trying to throw any shade on him, but I don't believe him, and I say that respectfully because I definitely believe it was more about Kawhi Leonard. Let me say this. Paul George is averaging 27 against the Lakers. He did average 26 last year against the Lakers. Paul George is an all-star caliber player. He is not a scrub, and he happens to be one of the nicest people you'd ever meet, to be quite honest with you. Incredibly respectful. He's a professional. He's a good dude. He might have had differences with certain players like a Montrezl Harrell or somebody, but Paul George is a good guy. Let's be very, very clear about that. He's not one of those guys that's an a-hole and he motivates you to really, really come at him night and day because of your disdain for him. You run across the NBA, you don't find guys that feel that way about Paul George. Now, they might feel something along the lines like Kawhi's a champion and you're not. But it's not like they look at Paul George like he's some scrub and you know what, let's go and give it to him because it ain't gonna be that easy. The brother can play. But the reason I bring up Kawhi is because once again, we've got yet another person that's trying to downplay or shove aside the significance of what Kawhi Leonard did coming to Los Angeles. And I'm sick and tired of it. Kawhi Leonard is a superstar caliber player, one of the top 5 players in the game, incredibly respected and feared to some degree because he's such an elite defender when he really focuses on it. We know what Kawhi Leonard could do. Let's focus on what he did. He won the championship in Toronto, signed on with New Balance, even before that actually, come to L.A., got the commercial for New Balance, driving the convertible down the highway in L.A., and the king's crown dangling from his mirror and all of this other stuff. He was coming for LeBron because LeBron wasn't a champion. He was. And he was like, I'm the reigning defending champion now, and I'm coming to your town. And by the way, I'm not coming to you. I'm coming to come at you, as Max Kellerman has so astutely highlighted in the past. That's what Kawhi Leonard was doing. And if you LeBron James, you knew everybody and their mama was waiting for that confrontation. Yes, Lakers, Clippers. Yes, Paul George with Kawhi against Anthony Davis and LeBron. But they were waiting for LeBron versus Kawhi. And anybody who tries to deny that, I ain't even trying to listen to them. I'm not even trying to listen to them because everybody was waiting for that confrontation. And that's why we still ticked off that the Clippers didn't come through.
You are so passionate. You talk about this with such fervor about Kawhi. It's such a pet issue of yours that it is clouding your judgment here. If you want to make this about Kawhi, go ahead. He did everything you said he did. He went to go at LeBron, and he failed to even get to that game, even to the Western Conference Finals. And he failed because he choked in Game 7 and choked in the second half and choked in the fourth quarter. And you know I thought he was going to win the whole thing. But up until then, Kawhi was magnificent in the playoffs, as he had been the year before. Kawhi plays the regular season at near MVP levels, right? Like maybe a little quarter step behind the very best, and then when it matters most, he's as good as anybody, or better. Paul George is not an MVP caliber player, and we all know it. He's not quite at that level. He's not a 5-star, he's a 4.5-star player. And those guys, if they're going to be Robin to Kawhi's Batman, if a guy like that is going to be the main support to a superstar, or if, better yet, if he's supposed to be the other superstar, and he's not quite an MVP, if anything, he's got to elevate when it matters most, or at least stay his same self. Stephen A., Paul George, a really nice guy. I've interviewed him a couple times, and I know people who know him. Really nice guy, a good dude. But we keep hearing the same thing. Was it resentment toward Kawhi for the special treatment? What keeps coming back to me is what people resented was Paul George was given that same special treatment, and they felt he in particular did not have that status. And what we're hearing from Jared Dudley now is echoes of that. Stephen A., maybe even if Paul George did elevate, they don't get it done. But at least they got a shot. Last year was not on Kawhi. He deserves the attention, you're right, because he did aim at the king, and he missed. But Paul George didn't hold his end of the bargain. Kawhi, throughout the playoffs, was great. Paul George wasn't, and people noticed it.
Paul George wasn't showing up in the playoffs in the first round. By the second round against Denver, he had some pretty damn good games himself. That's number one. Number two, It wasn't on him to show up as much as it was on Kawhi. That's number two. Number three, again, when I bring up Kawhi Leonard, let me put it to you this way in a better context that I've never put it in before, Max Kellerman. If the Lakers get bounced out by Portland, if they get bounced out by whomever, and there's someone else waiting for the Clippers, if the Clippers were to advance to the conference finals, would we have cared as much? Hell no. It mattered because the Lakers and the Clippers appeared to be on a collision course, and the Clippers wet the bed and didn't hold up their end of the bargain. And with that being Kawhi Leonard at the forefront of that, I don't want to hear anything about Paul George. Looking at Kawhi.
All right, let's leave it there. Guys, I mentioned this earlier in the week. Adam Schefter said on Get Up that 18 NFL teams are considering a change at quarterback position. Adam Schefter also saying that Carson Wentz will be one of them. When we come back, we'll discuss it. Will he be traded this offseason? Find out why no teams should be interested in the Eagles quarterback. Final 30 minutes, commercial free. You know what?